All right, welcome to this class, and I will be talking about Godot 4.6. So we're going to be doing a sort of beginner tutorial for everyone that wants to learn how to use Godot engine. So if you want to learn Godot engine and what is actually, this is the video you're going to be able to watch. And I'll be treating a lot of things, so that I'm not going to be writing so many codes, but I'm going to be teaching you many of the nodes and layout and different parts of Godot engine just to get a real how I'm going to be doing in this particular. First, before you go into that, you can download the engine from godot.org. And Godot engine is basically a game engine that is used for making video games, both 2D and 3D games. And you can be able to, export those games, whether it's for your web, your Android phones or iOS, or you want to upload it to the internet. Maybe you want to host on Steam or itch.io. These are different platforms you can be able to host your games. So, but basically, they work with both Linux, Windows, Apple, and Mac. All right. So, sorry, Mac. That's your Mac, Apple products. So you can be able to actually host the games you create here. All right. And the good part of this is that the games you create here is actually open, it's free. You don't have to pay for it. You just create with the software and it's open for you to be able to use it however you like. Unlike some other game engines that you can be able to create, but then before you can be able to make money, you have to do some other things. So that's one of the things I love so much about Godot engine. You can be able to actually create a lot of things, and those things you actually create, you actually own it yourself. So we're going to go into the tutorial now, and we're going to be, this is a live class, so we're going to be going details into everything. So whenever you download Godot 4.6, this is actually Godot 4.6, you're going to be seeing this interface. This is your manager that you're going to be using. Now, we have here going to be getting this here. So if you look at, you have your project, you have your asset library. So we're not going to be using this for now. We're going to be using this later. So right now I'm going to click on create. If you want to create a new um, project, this way to create a new project. If you have an existing one, you can import it. Or if you want to search for a particular one, you can be able to search for it. You can just type the name of the project, whatever the name is. You can just type it here and you can search for it. Now over here, you can run a particular one. Let's say I have selected this one, or maybe this one here. I can run it, okay? You can rename it, you can duplicate it so that maybe you want to edit what you already have inside it, but you don't want to work on the original file. You can just duplicate it here. You can manage some tags about it, and then you can remove it completely from this particular place. All right. So this one is for when you remove missing files. Like if you go down here, let me show you something here. You look at here, these files are no more, the link is no more linked inside my system. I've deleted much of them. So you can select them and remove missing. So, but the main thing we want to do right now is to start with create. So let's create a new project we're going to be using. So if I click on create here, I'm going to come in here. Remember, I'm going to be giving you everything here. So just relax and ask your questions. So if you come here, I'm going to call this Godot 4.6. And I'm going to put underscore live, right? That's what I'm going to call it. And right here, you have your create folder. So you can be able to create a folder immediately you create it. So if you look at here, the project part is in this place. So, but I have a particular folder. I will advise that you have a folder where you actually put in all your files, all right? All the files you're going to be working with, just put in a particular folder, maybe called Godot or something. So I'm going to click on browse and I'm going to go to my file system. I have a Godot system here. I have my 2026 files that I've worked on. I'm going to click here and I have here compatibility. So if you're working on maybe on a laptop that has a GPU render, that's your more of the rendering hardware. All right. If you have a if you have a high rendering capacity, all right, you will have to go with the forward. All right, it's going to work, but I don't have GPU on my system, so it's just basic rendering graphics card I actually have. So you have here for forward if you already have the big one, so you can go here. But also you can be able, if you're working for mobile phones, you go for mobile. But if you are working on a laptop that is not very high end, please work with compatibility. That's the best thing you can be able to work with. So right now I'm going to be working with compatibility, and over here I'm just going to leave all these things here by default. So, and I'm going to just click on create. Now, if you look at here, it's because of the way the thing has been arranged, I'm going to have to drag this down a bit so that I can be able to crop it down. Then I'm going to click on create. So so it's going to be creating the file, the Godot file for me, so that I can be able to use it. So it's going to be up in a second. So basically, I'll be teaching you everything you have to know inside Godot. All right, I think I have to share this again so that you can be able to see it. Okay, so now we have this here. So this is the interface. So I'm going to be breaking down the entire interface in Godot Engine. So if you're using Godot for the first time, the thing you're going to be seeing is something like this. All right. So if you're using 4.6, there are some new updates that has been done to it. If you look at the interface, it looks quite a bit different from the original ones, that's the old ones that we used to use. So over here, we'll have our menus. So here we'll have the scenes, all right? So I'm going to be talking about them in details later. So we'll have different files for working with scenes. If you want to do anything on the scenes, you have all those things like creating a new scene or saving a new scene or quickly opening a particular scene that you want, all right? And you can also export it. This one is a different kind of export. So, and then you can close that particular scene. Then over here, you can work on your project settings. So you can set your project, export it, and do some other things here. So, but this has to do with all the entire project settings, okay? Then for debugging, if you're trying to test your game or you're trying to do some other things like getting your visibility condition, if you're trying to debug to know how fast your system is or how good your game is, these are places you can be able to use. Then editor is the entire editor. That's the Godot editor itself. You want to change the settings of the editor itself, or you want to take a screenshot, or you want to just change some settings of how things will work inside this particular, like the back end of the software itself. You can be able to do this. All right. So the difference is that in project you're working on the project itself, but this one is the software itself you're working on. Then help here, you can be able to use help to get other helpful resources. If you want to know the version of Godot you're using, you can click here to actually get that there. So now let's go into here. So if you look at here, we'll have the different scenes that you can work with. So you can work with the 2D scene, all right? You can work with the 3D scene if you're working in 3D games. So because Godot works very well with both 2D and 3D games. So you can be able to use any of them. Then here, if you are working with scripts, you do your scripting here, all right? Davis Luga, how are you doing? So you have your script here. You can be able to actually attach your scripts. If you are working with GD script, you can be able to do that from here. And we have this new thing. I think it came in around 4.4, where you can be able to do things like you can, make your game to be, you can view your game within as you're playing the game, all right? You can do some of all those things. You can move around things. You can manipulate your camera, all right? You can override your camera and be able to manipulate it however you like. So we're not going to do that now. And here you have your asset lead. Now, this is one of the things I would like to be when you want to create a scene, you can be able to actually get it from here. So you just download different kinds of plugins on projects you can be able to just actually download and use for whatever you want. Then over here, you have your play. You can run your game. So if you have your game, you can just run your game from here, and you can be able to over here come in and run your currency. Now look at here, you have, if you play a game, you have your pause. You can pause the game, you can stop the game here, and over here you can this one is for deploying when you're trying to test a game or maybe mobile phone or something. You can do it from here, And over here, you can run a current scene. Let's say I have a scene that is open right now. You can run with this current scene here, okay? And if you want to run a specific scene, you can click here and run a specific scene. Then another one that is here is making a movie. If you want to be able to create a sort of video version of your game and you want to make it to be as smooth as possible, because sometimes when you run it with normal run game, it might be laggy depending on the kind of game you're playing and the kind of system you're playing it on. So, but if you want it to be very smooth, you use your make a movie and it's going to, you play the game in slow motion and you're going to be able to play the game properly, and you get to, create a video version of it. All right. So here you can still be able to change back here the way, as you remember I talked about the compatibility and the mobile and the forward version of your game. So if you are working for high-end PCs or maybe for PlayStation or other kind of high-end graphic software, you can be able to graphic systems. You can be able to use the forward plus there. Now let's go into the main thing. All right. So let me just go back to my 3D scene here. And if you look at here, now what you have to understand about Godot is that everything is designed into scenes. We break down different kinds of things. So let's say, for example, you have a game you want to create. So let's say we have a game that contains different a human being, a house, and an enemy. All right. So if you have something like that, that means the human being will be a scene of his own. The enemy will be a scene of his own, and then the house can be a scene of his own. And you can bring them all together into another scene, making the fourth scene. All right. But each of those scenes are made up of what we call nodes. So you can have a node that controls the skeleton of the character, another node that controls the weapon the character is holding, another node that controls maybe some other thing that the character is holding within that character scene. Okay, so everything is designed into scenes, and each scenes has different nodes. Okay, so now if you look at here, you see your scene panel here. You see your panel for your scenes. If you click here, you have all your scenes. Okay, I'm going to come down to talking about that. And you have here import. If you want to import something, all right. But this is not for really important things. If you want to import things inside Godot Engine, you just have to go to your folder, drag it into this place, like in this file system. I'm going to come to that later. So, but here you have your scene. So in this scene here, whenever you want to re-import, let's say, for example, you get in something and you want to re-import it, the import here is what you use. It's mainly for re-importing things. If you import something and it's not working fine, you can just select it and then re-import it. Okay, so this needs more of a practical demonstration, but it's basically for re-importing things most time. But if you want to import anything, you just go drag it. If you have your folder, you just open that folder, click on that thing and drag it and just drop it on top of this place. We're going to come to that later. So let's talk about the scenes here. So if you want to create a scene, you're going to click here to create a scene. But I'm going to create a scene and we're going to work on a very simple game idea in this particular project we're working on right now. So over here you have your file system. Okay, the file system is where all the files you're working on will be here. All right, so you have your file system. So if I create a folder for your scripts, for the games, oh sorry, not games, for the scripts, for the scenes, for the models I'm going to be importing, or the textures, or the music, or the videos, whatever I'm using, everything will be here. All right. Now I'm going to be telling you how you're going to be arranging your scenes in a bit. Okay. So this is more like a beginner story I'm actually doing right now. And this is your history, all the things you have been doing. You can be able to go back, just like an undo kind of thing. But anything I do right now, you'll just be seeing all of them. If I create a scene, or let me say, for example, I create a scene now, it will actually come and show it down here. All right. It's actually, so you see now I've created a new scene now and it's showing me here. So if I do Control Z, I can actually go back and you see it removes it. It goes back to the beginning. Now you have your 3D viewports. Okay, so if you switch to here, it becomes a 2D viewport. So here we'll have a 3D viewport. Now, when you have a 3D viewport, you have a few things up here, which are your tools. These are the tools you're going to be using for anything you're working on. So if you look at here, you have your transform tool if you want to transform things. All right. So when I start creating characters and different things inside the scene, I'm going to be working more on how to be able to navigate inside the 3D scene. So over here, you have your move tool for moving things, okay? And for this one is for rotation. So all these things here are for basically working inside this 3D scene. In fact, everything here is for working inside the 3D scene here, okay? So here you have your environment where you can be able to preview your environment, change the color of your environment if you want to change it. We're going to come to that later. Then down here you have a sort of panel that is hidden here for output, for debugger, for audio. Even when you start doing animation, you will see some of those things still appearing just down here. You can be able to actually, like see the animation here or animation tree or terrains. If you work with terrain, you can be able to actually get all those things from here. Then over here, this is important part. So you have the inspector. Now, when I create a 3D scene, let me just create a 2D scene here. Just quickly, so you actually see what the inspector is like. So the inspector contains different properties of anything you select. So for example, if I select a node here, you actually see that it contains all the properties, like the transform, the visibility. I can make it invisible if I want to make it invisible. You have a lot of things you can do to it here. And even if you go to your file system and select something like this icon now, let's double click on it, and you see that the inspector will also show us the qualities or the properties of that particular thing we selected. That's another thing it could be able to do. Then here we'll have different things. So you have different properties for the inspector. And over here we'll have the signals. So the signals are the functions. They're more like functions, but they are used to trigger certain things. So they are like functions that come with a particular node. So there are signals. Once you trigger them, let's say for example you do something and it's triggered. For example, now if you use things like area 3D, all right, when a body touches it, it will trigger, all right. It just be like a function that triggers whenever a body touches it. So it's used for triggering other codes. So you can have a code that triggers other codes. Whenever something happens, that one is triggered. When another thing happens, that other codes are triggered. That's what these signals are used for. So you can be able to create. There are ones that come with your nodes by default, and you can also create your own custom-made signals. We're going to come to that later. And then we'll have your groups. So groups are very important. You can have a group that is seen globally or just within that particular scene. Groups are used for telling Godot specific things to affect at a particular time. For example, I can create a group called player, and I will tell Godot, please only affect anything that has a group that is in the group player. So that means that if that thing is not in the group player, you should not affect it. Okay, so that's what group is used for. So that's basically the summary of the entire interface that we'll have here. So now I'm going to just go in and we're going to be creating a simple scene. Okay, we have created a project already. So I'm going to be creating a very simple scene in 3D. That's what I'll be working on for now. So if you have any question on this, you can put in the comments, anything about this. So I'm going to be telling you what you should focus on because, sometimes if you're new to Godot Engine and you don't know what to do, you might be confused about where to focus on. So when you want to focus, please focus on here, on the scenes here, all right? The file system and the inspector, all right? Those are the two places I want you to focus more on. And then your 3D scene here. So these are the most important parts. Now let's go into our scene. So let's say, for example, now I want to create a 3D scene, okay? Now there are several ways I can do this. So if you look at here, I have my 3D scene here. So I can be able to just click here. But if I don't want to click here, I can click on plus sign. You see, I have add child node. If you click here, you can search for a particular node, depending on if you know what you're searching for, all right? So there are different kind of nodes you can be able to use, okay, for different things. So, but right now, I'm going to just use the 3D node. So it's going to give me a 3D scene. And the basic thing here is no 3D. Now, let me explain to you now. Now, we'll have different nodes. Now, nodes are simply tools for building, they're the building blocks of your game. And each node has different properties, what is used for. So something like node 3D is just like a basic node that is used for holding other nodes. So it can be a root node. What we call a root node is the main node that starts a particular scene. Now, Godot is designed in a sort of a scene, in a kind of tree form, where you have the root node and you can have other branches. You can have maybe one node that has other children under it, the another node that is still under that root node that has other children under it, another one that has another node that has other children under it. Okay, so those are the things. That's how it's called. It's like a tree with different branches, and those branches can have their own branches. That's the idea here. So this is the root node. The one that is at the top here is the root node. So let's say, for example, now I want to create a simple scene with a flat surface, just like a flat floor there, just spread there. That's what I want to be able to create now. So to do that, the first thing I've created is a node 3D, which is like a basic placeholder. All right, it doesn't really have so much. It can move things. It doesn't really have a different kind of thing. So, but I'm going to create a new node. To do that, I'm going to right click here. So when I right click, okay, you can also click here if you want to. I'm going to click on child node. Okay, so if I click on my child node, I want to be able to add a node called mesh instance. So my mesh instance is a node for creating a 3D mesh. So you see, mesh instance 3D. For creating a 3D mesh, you can be able to actually work with. Okay, so if you want to create a circle or a cube or a cylinder, but you don't want to go to Blender to do it, you can be able to, model, very simple scene from here. So I'm going to click on this. So I have my mesh 3D, and you can be able to actually click and have this here. So once you do that, now let's go into our inspector. Now in inspector, you're going to have this here, and I'm going to have my box mesh. So I'm going to use a box mesh. So once you click on this mesh here, empty here, and then you go to your box mesh. So I have my box mesh. So it's going to create a very simple box for me here that I can be able to shape to whatever I want. So once I do this, I can be able to select this here and scale it down, and I can be able to scale it. Now let's learn how to navigate inside the 3D scene. Now to navigate inside the 3D scene, you can use your mouse. If you're using your mouse, okay, you can be able to just scroll forward or backwards, okay, if you want to scroll, right? So then if you want to also navigate around, like, orbit around, and be able to hold down the middle mouse button and orbit around your scene. So this is a very important skill when you're working with 3D. So if you're a beginner to Godot Engine, this is something you need to learn. So hold down the middle mouse button down. That's the scroll wheel. Hold it down and move your mouse, and you see he's doing this. Another way to do this is from here. You can also do it from here. This particular widget that you have here, you can be able to actually drag it around like this. Then another thing you can do is that you can be able to move the entire thing, like hold down shift, hold down the middle mouse button, and you pan. So this is how you can pan out a particular scene. So let's say, for example, I want to move this to another side. So I can hold down the middle mouse button and my shift, and then I will move. So you just drag it out. So those are the things you could be able to do. So that's basically the things you can be able to work on. So now let's go into here, the tools. If you're working with your tools, we have your move tool here, and you can be able to use the move tool to move a particular object. So if you select that object in the 3D scene, you can be able to move it. And then you have here the transform, which enables you to do all the things like scaling, moving, rotating, and also scaling. If you look at your scaling here, you can be able to, let me get that scaling. I think that should be here. Okay, this one is for moving. Let me see if I can get it. It's difficult to actually get. So, but if you go to your scale here, you can be able to just scale it manually, like directly here. There are other ways to scale. If you want to scale, you can always go to your transform and type in the value in your scale here. So I have this here now. So that's basically how you can be able to navigate around your 3D scene here. If this is blocking, you can always snap this out. Now, one of the new features inside Godot 4.6 that I love very much is this tool here. So if you look at here, let's say, for example, I want to focus on the 3D scene. I don't want to be jumping around. Like if you look at here, I have very minimal space here. You can be able to click here on this, and you see that it will just take out every other part, and you can be able to focus on your 3D scene only. And when you're done, you can be able to just click here and you can come back to that particular place. So depending on what you're trying to achieve. And you can be able to still come in here with your mouse, drag this and scale it up if you want to be seeing everything very well. You just bring your mouse to this place and click drag. You can do that. Now let's go into building a very simple scene. Okay, so now I'm going to just quickly delete this particular one. Now I want to be able to create a character that can be able to move. So to create a character, I need to be able to create it with a particular kind of node. So the node that we use for creating characters are called character body nodes. Okay, so whether you're using 2D or 3D, you have the character body 2D or 3D node. So if I right click now, I'm going to add a child node and I'm going to call this my character. Now the character body 3D contains, it has some kind of physics body. It has some features that enables you to be able to work with characters. So I'm going to click on that. So once I add that, now if you look at here, it's going to be telling me that I have a few things here. So I have a problem. So if I click it, you see that it's telling me that I don't have any shape and I don't have any collider. So I'll say, okay, no problem. So I want to create a shape. So I'm going to right click under this one, not on this one. Under this one, I'm going to right click and I'm going to just add a child node. And this child node is going to be a mesh instance. So if I get my mesh instance 3D, I'll just get it there under it. Now, once I get it, I'm also going to, before I put my collision shape, I'm going to select this. And I'm going to go down to my mesh here. If you look at the mesh here in the inspector, I'm going to open this up and I'm going to be using a capsule for my player. So once I put my capsule, it's going to give me a very gigantic player. And I'm going to go down, I want to scale it down to, let's say about half of it. Okay, I'm going to go for 0.4. So it's just going to scale down. And I'm going to use my move tool here to drag it up to this place. So once I do that, I can now go to my character body 3D. Now what I'm trying to do right now is to remove this triangle that I have here. And to remove that, I need to add a collision shape. That's what it's telling me, that it doesn't have a collision shape. So I'm going to add a collision shape to it. So if I do that, collision. So once I add my collision shape here, collision shape 3D, I'm going to come in here and add this capsule here. That's what I'm going to be able to add here. So add capsule. So once I add my capsule, it's going to create a sort of collision shape. Now, the character body 3D is for controlling a character. Okay, that's what the node is used for. The mesh is for creating the mesh, and the collision is for creating a special kind of node for detecting when something touches it. So it's for making it, like in case of the character body 3D, it makes a body not to be able to pass through it. It can detect. So if I should do this to be here, that means that a body cannot pass through it. Once the body reaches here, it's going to stop. So I'm going to just scale it down. So I want it to be almost the same pass of the mesh that I have actually created. So I have something like this. So once I do this here, I have the whole thing already arranged. So if you look at here, I have my Node 3D and this. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to double click here and change this to player. So once I put my player here, that's the name. I'm just renaming it. Remember, it's still Node 3D. If you click here, if you go to the properties, you see that it's still Node 3D. It doesn't change. It's just the name that it changed. But the type of node, it hasn't changed it. So these are the different nodes that we're using for creating our character. Now, I'm going to save this. So to save it, I'm going to press, I'm going to right click here and click on save. Now, if you want to save things in Godot Engine, it is important that you actually plan yourself properly. If you don't plan yourself, you're going to have a lot of mistakes. Okay, so you need to come in here. I'm going to just come down to my res. This is my res file, and I'm going to create a new folder. If you click here, you can create a folder. I'm going to call this my scenes and click OK. So the rest, if you look at here in the file system, you see that you have a folder called scenes being created right now. And I can be able to just come in here and you're welcome. I can see you. Hi. Okay, that's okay, no problem. You can come back and watch it later. That's all right. So if I come in here, player point, that's dot tscn. So I have this player now. I can just be able to save this here. So once I save this is my player right now. I'm using a very simple player for this particular one. I'm going to still put another kind of player later. Now, to be able to make these characters be able to move, I'm going to add a script to it, okay? And the script, okay, I'm going to work, today I'm going to be working with GD, if I'm not going to be working with scripting, I'm just going to be working with basic foundation of Godot. Then next time I'll be working with visual scripting, okay? But today, the script I'm going to be creating is just GD script, but I'm not going to be writing it. I'm going to be using special kind of tools to be creating GD script for the one we're going to be working on today. Okay, no problem. Just a simple version of GD, that's what I'll be doing. I will not be really writing the code myself here. So then I'm going to come in here. I'm going to be creating a code here and character body 3D. So if I right click here, I can be able to create a code. I want to write a code for this character that will be making it to be able to move, okay? So to do that, I'm going to click on attach scripts. And right now, I don't have my Godot or orchestrator open here, all right? So I'm not going to be doing orchestrator today. So if you want me to do orchestrator, you can put it in the comments and I'll do that in another time, okay? So right here, I'm going to be putting this. So I'm going to just click here and I'm going to change this to my player. Okay, so by default, it's already GD script, so I don't need to do anything here. Now, make sure you are adding this script to the character body 3D. If you don't put in the character body 3D, it's going to have a problem. You're not going to be able to have access to what I'm going to show you right now. So if you do that, once you make sure you have done this, okay, just come down here and you can click on this built-in script, okay? If you look at built-in script, you see that you have your templates, okay? So if you look at here, you have, okay, let's remove the script. If you look at here, if you click here, we'll have the template, sorry. This is the template I'm going to be using. So don't use this, please. Templates, all right? So just make sure this is turned on by default. If it's not turned on already, click here and you check on this. You select this particular one, the character body 3D basic movement. So this is only available for character body 3Ds, okay? It contains the script for both jumping and moving and, you know, moving towards the left or right, okay? That's the thing it has. No, it's not necessary to use the script, the template. If you can write it yourself, if you want to write it, but I'm not going to be writing GD script. I just want this to be a beginner tutorial, beginner-friendly tutorial, and I'll be working with different nodes and, you know, telling you what they're actually used for. That's the aim of this. I've already introduced the interface. So over here, we'll have the, so if you look at down here, now this will not be hard for beginners, all right? This is not GD script class, okay? This is just Godot general. So I'll be talking about Godot. I want people to understand how Godot works. GD script will not be difficult. This is very, very simple. You're not going to be writing scripts in this one. You're not even writing any script in this particular class. So over here, we'll have the templates. So we'll have the basic movements. So for your character, so I'm going to be creating it. So once you create, you see that you have GD script already written for you. Don't worry about this for beginners, okay? So just save your work, okay? Now I need to add a camera to this player, okay? So I'm going to go to my 3D scene and I'm going to right click. Now I'm going to be putting on this my character 3D, okay? Body 3D. I'm going to right click here and add a basic camera. So it's just a beginner tutorial. So my camera 3D here, I'm going to create the camera 3D, okay? And this camera 3D is attached to this character body 3D here. So that means that whenever this one is moving, the camera is moving with it. So that's just the basic camera. It's not like the advanced cameras we'll be using. So we can be able to drag this up. For now, I'm going to be dragging it back until I know the one that is the forward. Let me see here. Okay, I think I have to rotate it. So I'm going to push this place and use my rotation to rotate this. So this will be very simple for beginners. So I'm going to rotate this. If you're not sure of what you have done, you can just go down to your transform, and if you go to rotation, you see here, you can be able to see let me just do it this way. I'm going to do 0, and I'm going to do 180. Okay, so I have this 180, and I would like to bring this down a bit. So the good part about this is that when you select this, if you go up, you see that inspector will be showing what your camera is actually seeing. That's one of the things it could do for you. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to bring this up like this. So it's going to be viewing the player immediately like this. So that's what I'm doing here. So make sure you save your work and make sure everything is working on fine. So now let's go to other things. I'm going to create a new thing here. I'm going to be working with a few add-ons for doing very simple stuff. Okay. So this is my player I've worked on right now. So the player can be able to move. I'm not going to test it now, but just know that once I play this game, it's going to be moving. So, but I need a floor, all right? So to create that floor, I'll be using a new add-on. So the add-on will enable me to create a terrain for my 3D scene. Now you can be able to create a terrain or a floor by using a sort of a floor, let's say a mesh. You can be able to put a mesh, okay, if you want that, or you can also use a terrain. So, but first, let's start with a floor. Let's start with the basic one because I want us to learn how to do things ourselves inside Godot Engine before we start talking about the add-ons. So over here, I've created a new. If you want to create a new scene, you just come here and click on the add scene. So over here, I'm going to click on my 3D scene. Okay, I have this new 3D scene here. So this is going to be, I'm going to just double click on it and put this to be my floor. So now I want to be able to create a floor. Now to create a floor, I'll be using a new node called the static body 3D node. Now let me right click and get it, static body 3D node. So the static body 3D node is simply a physics body that you can be able, that doesn't move, all right? But then it cannot be moved by other forces. But when other bodies, fall on it, let's say for example you step on it, it's going to remain where it is. Okay, so just like the floor, if you jump on the floor, you want the body to be able to, sense the floor and not pass through the floor. So that's what we use static body 3D for. So I'm going to start with the static body 3D. So when I put my static body 3D, all right, so that's it. And then I'll add the mesh that I'm going to be using. Mesh instance. So I'm going to be using my mesh instance 3D. Remember, mesh instance 3D is for creating a body, all right, a 3D mesh. So over here, I'm going to be using a box for this one. Now, there's a reason why I did it this way, so that I will be able to add my my whole body collision shape around it easily. So I'm going to just select my scale tool here and just scale this down to this place. I'm going to scale this out. Let me keep scaling out like this. So once I do this, now I'm going to right click and add a collision shape. So you have to add a collision shape before this particular triangle warning will move out. So once I add it, I'm going to have the collision shape. You see, it goes to this one, and it's asking me what kind of collision shape do I want to add. So I will say I want to add a box collision shape. So once I add it, I can just be able to just scale it. So make sure you're dragging it on this line. If you look at this thing that is here, just drag it along that line. That's what you should be doing. I always like using my move tool to do that. So drag it. I'm going to come down to this place, and now if you're not seeing everything here, now let me introduce you to view. So you have different views that you have in your 3D tools here. If you look at the tools for your interface here, that's your viewport. So if you come in here, I can change my viewport to be 2 viewports. So I can click here and say, okay, this one, I want this one to be my left view. So the reason why I made it to be left view is that I want to be seeing how from one side, okay, how long or how tall this my collision shape is. I can drag it down now, meet up with this one here, and drag this one here to meet up with this one here. So it's almost the same part now. So that's all we have here, and I can go ahead to save this, and I'm calling floor right now. So I'll save that. Now I can go back to my viewports right here. So once you do that, you can be able to actually work on your 3D scene. You can just, okay, I think my distance just cut off. So let me get it again. Okay, so I'm going to just come in here and get my floor. I'm going to put a material to it, okay, like a texture to it. So let's work with materials here. So if you look at here, to work with materials, you do that in Inspector. But to do that, you can only do that here in the mesh instance. So I'm going to click on my mesh instance here, and I'm going to add a material to it. So to do that, I'm going to come to my mesh over here. Now, if you click on this mesh, look at here, you have your mesh. So this is your material here. If you click on it, it's going to expand. All right. So by default, you don't have any material here. So I'm going to click on this and say I want a standard material. So if you click on your standard material, it's going to just drop down some materials for you. So materials are just like the basic tool for determining the color of your scene, all right? The color of your objects in your 3D scene. So let's say, for example, you want to make it colored, or you want to add a texture, maybe a sort of the texture of animal skin, or the back of a tree or something. Anything you want to do, you can do that here. So once you open that, okay, you see you have your material now. Look at the material. You can click on it and it will open it up. So if you look, you can always come in here and just, I think I'm losing my connection. Let me just share that back again. Okay, so this here. Now, if you actually lose this, you can always come in here, select mesh instance again, and I will just come in here. Look at this. Make sure you just come in here. You can click once on this. If this is hidden, just click on it again. And then you are looking for this particular option. You click on this once or twice, and these options will come out. So we'll have the albedo. So you can open this up. So albedo, you have color. Let me open this. So you have your color, and you can be able to actually color it to different colors. If you look at here, you are having different colors here. So that's all the colors you can be able to use. Now, I want to be able to add a texture to it. So I'm going to be adding the Godot picture to it, that I'm not getting any texture from anywhere for this particular class. So I'm just going to get this, drag this from here, and just drop it in this place here. Just drag it. This is the same way you import things. So once you just drop it, you see that it comes in here. So if you look at here, this one is already brown or purple. So I can be able to, make it white so that it's going to be bright enough. Now, I want this to be able to tile. If you look at now, it's not tiling. It's just showing just one big picture. I want you to tile and have, multiple pictures. So I'm going to go down here and go to my UV1. And in my UV1, I'll go to my scale and let me make it about 444. Oh, it's too small. It's quite small. Let me just make it 44 only. So this is better. So if you look at now, I have something that looks like this. So you save this work and this is just like a floor you have added. So, but if you get this from Blender, you can be able to actually bring this in and it's already textured. So I'm going to save that. Now, if I want to create a scene out of this particular thing now, let's say, for example, I want to create a scene where I'm going to bring in the floor and bring in the character and get to play the game, okay? To do that, I'm going to just come in here and click here. I'm going to create a new 3D scene now. So if you look at what is happening now, I have different scenes for different things. So you need to break down all your scenes, you know, everything that you have so that you can, it makes it good for easy for you to reuse things easily. So those are the things that it does for you. So if I click on this, I can be able to just come in here, right click, and I'm going to just instantiate the child. So first, if you look at here, I already have the player and the floor. So I'm going to come in here, right click, instantiate. If you don't want to use this, you can also use this button here that looks like a chain. You click on it, it will give you the option to select a scene that you want to instantiate here. So I can now go on to instantiate. If I just click on that and double click on that, it brings in the scene into this new one. And I'll also right click on that root node. Let me call this level 1. And then I'll right click on it and instantiate another one. And this time it's going to be the player. So if you look at now, I have my player and I have my floor. And this is in level 1 right now. So let me go ahead and save this. So I'm going to call this level 1. I'm just going to save. So once I do this, I'm going to just come in, and if you want to test the game, you can easily test the game here. Let me show you something here. But before we test it, we need to add light to this scene. So to add light, because right now if you play the game, it's not going to have any light because we don't actually have, although it's bright here, but once you play the game, everywhere will be dark. So we need to add some lights here. To add that light, you come in here and click over here. So if you look at here, you have your sunlight and your skylight, all those things are already here. So what I like doing is that I like adding my sunlight from here. You can add your environment too. So let me start with my environment. So this environment, we can adjust it later if you want to add some other things like change the color of our sky. Look at here. This is the background. It's using the sky. So that sky now is this one here. If you click on this, using a procedural sky right now. If you click on that sky, you see the sky here. You can open it, and that's the color. If you want to change the color, you can make it red. Anything you want, you can actually change it to whatever you want. So if it's like a sort of red kind of color or whatever you want to do, you can actually do that here. So, and this is the horizon. This is the horizon here. So you can make it a bit darker or whatever color you want it to be. You can actually do that. So I'm going to do this way. I want my own to be a bit unique. Then the next thing you want to add is your sunlight. So add the sunlight because it's very important. So once you add your sunlight, this is your directional sunlight. Look at it over here. I'm going to use this and just drag it up. Now, if you use your rotation, if you look at here, if you rotate, look at the shadow, look at this shadow you are seeing here, you can be able to actually see that it's going to be affecting the shadow. So this is very important. And if you feel like the light is too much, you can always reduce it from here in the properties here. So if you want to change the color of your light, you can change the color of your light from here. We're going to be talking about light, in more details later. So this is just the basic control for your light. So depending on the kind of, if I want it to look like the color of the sky, I can be able to do that from here. So I'm going to save this, and you can be able to play your game. So if you want to play the game, you can always click here to run the project, or you can just right click here and just say play this scene. So once you play the scene, it's going to enable you to see what this game is going to look like when you actually finish testing it or when you're done working on it. So depending on how fast your system is, it's going to play the game very fast or slow. So I have this. Now, this might be a bit slow here, so just don't worry about it. So if you look at now, my forward and my backwards are not working fine. So I need to rotate my camera because I'm not in the right, my camera is not facing this thing properly. So let me just close this. So I'm going to go back to my player and I'm going to go to my camera. I'm going to make that my camera, go to my transform and make it to be 0. And I'm going to push it to this area. So let me just push it to this side. So this is where it's supposed to be. Just save it. And I will try playing it again. It's going to update now. So if you look at now, you can go forward or backwards. Now it might be freezing on this because I'm actually playing it in real time. So this is what it's going to be. If you use your space bar, you can be able to jump. And if you actually move out of this place, it's going to fall off the platform. So make sure you don't go out from there because it has gravity. Everything that you need in a player is already there with the code that we already added. Okay, so now let's just save this and let's go into the next part of our lesson. So now we want to be able to work with more things. So we want to be able to work on a particular animated platform. So I just want to have a sort of box that can be able to just move on its own that we can import here and it just be moving. All right, that's what we want to do with it. So I'm going to click on this thing here and I have my 3D scene. So this 3D scene is going to be, I'm going to be using here a static body still, all right? I'm going to be using a static body. The static body will just be there and it'll just be animated. It'll just be moving on its own. So I'm going to first start with the body itself, the main thing. So I'm going to start with right click and I'm going to add a static body. Now, a faster way to do this is this. I'm going to just add a mesh instance. So instead of going to do the static body, I'm going to add a mesh instance 3D. So this mesh instance 3D gives me a 3D object, and I'm going to go down to my inspector, and I'm going to get my mesh, and just I'm going to be using. Let me see what I'm going to use here. I would like to use a cylinder this time around. So just a cylinder that will be moving up and down. That's what I want to do. And I'm going to just scale it down this way. Just something like this. If you want it to scale proportionally, you can just come in here and make sure you just use your scale. Let me see your scale here. If you come in here, if you look at here, you can just come in and do 2. It will scale proportionally, then you can flatten it from here. So right now I have this. So I want to be able to animate this. So, but first I want this to become a static body. To do that, I'm going to select this. Now there is a feature that is here on the tools for the viewport. If you click here, it's going to tell you create a collision shape. Yeah, you can tell it I want to create a collision shape. You click on that. It's asking you what kind of thing you want to create. You say I want a static body child. Okay, that's what you want. And I'm using a single convex. Okay, in fact, let me see if I have a simpler one. Yeah, simplified convex or single. I'm going to be using a single. The tri-mesh is the one that when you have a complicated body, you can be able to use that. But this time around, I want to make it very, very simple so that it's not going to be too complex. All right, so it's easy for my system to calculate. So I'm going to select the single convex and I'm going to click on create. If you look at what is happening right now, if you go over here and go to my collision, so you see that the collision shape just created a sort of convex collision around this. Look at the collision. Let me just drag it up a bit so you see it. So this is what it looks like. So this is a collision shape that enables you to detect when anybody touches it. That's the thing that you just actually created right now for this particular round shape. This is something we would have created manually by creating the collision shape and going there to actually start selecting the type of collision shape we want. So you see here, you can still be able to change it to sort of capsule or cylinder, any one you want. So, but this is the fastest way to do it. Now I'm going to call this my animated 3D cylinder. Then I'm going to go ahead to save this. So if you look at now, I have my animated 3D cylinder and I'm going to save this here. And now I'm going to just go on to add my animation. So we're already used to all these nodes. So I'm going to be introducing a new node. So the new node we're going to be using is the animated, the animation player, okay? So I'm going to be putting the animation player on this one here, all right? So you can put it here also if you want to animate the entire thing, okay? So as long as you're not going to put a code on it, if you're going to put a code, that's where is going to be a problem. But if you're not going to put a code, you can always add it at the top here, okay? So right now I'm not going to put a code in this one. So I'm going to just right click here, add a child node, and I'm going to put an animation player. So animation player is a node for animating anybody. Anybody you want to animate, you can be able to use the animation player to animate it. That's what you use it for. So once you do that, you can be able to just create it. Let's just create it like this. And then we can be able to just add our animation. So it's going to be up under here. So you can be able to put it, you can name it anything you want, but it's still an animation player node. So to add an animation or to animate any particular object here, I'm just going to select this and I'm going to come down to animation. Look at here. So if you look at now, by default, this can be hidden. Make sure that this is already turned on. It's open here. Click on your animation and you're going to click on a new animation. So let me just call this my up and down. Let me just call it up and down because I want this animation to be moving up and down, up and down. That's what I want to be doing. So I'm going to click on that. So this is my timeline. So it's telling me I have from 0 to 1. Okay, so that's a frame, more like 1 second. What will happen in 1 second? If you want to increase it so that it's going to be more than 1 second, you can just come in here and make it to be 2 seconds animation if you want it to be 2 seconds animation. All right, so those are the things you can do. So right now, I want to start my animation. Now, over here, just forget about the things we'll have here. These are other things. If you click here, you see other animations, all right? I'm going to be introducing you to what other things are used for. So coming in here, I'm going to animate. So I'm going to select my mesh instance 3D. That's what I want to animate. Okay. So, and once I do that, I'm going to click on what I want to animate. So I want to animate the transform. So if you come into select the object you want to animate or the node you want to animate, go to the inspector, select the properties you want to animate. That's the transform. That's what I want to animate right now. And I want to animate the position. That's the position is like the position where that particular thing is. If you want to animate the scaling of it, you use your scale. That's your scale here. So this thing that you see here is like a key. That's the keyframe. That's what we'll call it in animation. So if I click here now, it's going to be telling me that it's going to be creating a position for this particular animation. Okay, it's going to insert a keyframe for the position. Okay, so I'm going to select the bezier. I want you to have a bezier, so meaning that it's not going to be straight. If you don't put that, it's going to be animating just straight. It's not going to be slowly entering into animation and slowly coming down. So I can just come in here, click on my create, and I already have this here. So if you look at now, I have is telling you that by 0 frame, that's on the frame for this particular time at the frame 0 seconds is going to be here. So I'm going to come up to my 1 second. Okay. So you can actually type it manually. So I can say, when you are in 1 second, I want you to go up to this place. So this is what you're telling to do. And if you go to your place here, you can actually click on it again, and it's going to keyframe that one. So if you look at what is happening here now, you just went up and down. That's what you just did. Then for the next one, I want to copy this frame now. Sometimes, let me see if it's going to work here. You can just click and drag from here to select everything here, and you can Control C to copy it. Let me see here, Control C to copy it, and Control V to paste it. So let me see. Yep, it went back. So this is like your cycle. So down here is down here, and then it goes up, and then it comes back down. So you can be able to create a sort of animation cycle with it. Now, if you want this thing to keep on playing again and again continuously without stopping, you can just come in here. This is for animation looping. If you want to loop your animation, you can do that. So if you play now, you see that it just keeps on animating continuously, looping itself again and again and again. That's what you can be able to do to this. So once you do that, you can just pause your animation and you can be able to use it. If you want to be able to have another animation, you can be able to create another animation. Let's say, for example, I want to create a second animation. You can click here and create a new animation. But for now, I'll be working with just one animation, okay? But for the benefit of the next thing I want to use, which is the animation tree node, I will be creating a second animation. I'm going to be doing this to be a scale kind of animation. That's what I'll be doing this time around. So I'm going to click on a new one. I'll call it scale up and down. And I will click OK. So it's going to create an entirely new animation right now. So if I come in here, remember, I will make it to be 2 seconds again, because that's what I want. You can make your own 1 second, depending on what you're trying to achieve. Then I'll select my mesh instance again. Okay. Now, if you go down to, let me just go down to it, my transform, go to my scale. I'll click on scale and click on create. So it's going to create that keyframe. Okay. So by this time, it's like this. So by 1 second, I want you to go down. So let me just make the scale to be about, let me make it to be about 0.5. And you see, it becomes very, very small like that. And once I do that, I'm going to click on this key and it's going to keyframe it. If you look at now, coming big and small, big and small. Then I'll come in here and select this. Click and drag over it. Control C, move my playhead to this place, and Control V to paste it. So you can play now, and you see that. If you want to keep on playing, turn on your animation loop, and it will keep on looping continuously. So that's what you can be able to do. So once you click here, you see that you have 2 animations that you can be able to use for whatever you want to, animate later. Okay. Now let's use another animation node that we're going to be using. Okay, so this is a different kind of animation node, and this is what we call animation tree node. So I'll right click here and add a new node called animation tree. So the animation tree is used for blending different animations. So if you want to combine 2 animations and tell the software when you should do a particular one, this is the node you should be using. Okay, so we're going to be using that, and you're going to be seeing how we're going to be doing that. So if I come in here, I will select my animation tree node. So animation tree node will enable me to now use the different animations I have on this. So if I select this now, I will come over to my animation tree. It's going to be asking me a few questions. I will say, it's asking me what kind of animation tree kind of setting do I want to use. I will say, I want to use my blend tree. So there are other ones, there's state machine, there is a blend 1D. There are different ones you can use. But the one I usually use most times for my work, especially with visual scripting, is this one here. So I can select this, okay, and just put it there. So If you have been watching all along, just know that this will get you, grounded inside of Godot engine on how to be able to use different things inside it. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to assign. So I'm telling you which animation player is going to be using for this one. So I only have one here. You can have multiple animation players. Okay, but this animation tree controls just this one. That's the one I want us to be controlling. So I'm going to click on assign and I'm going to select the animation player node that I've already created. Okay, so what it's just doing now is that it is having access to all the animations inside it. That's what it's actually doing here. So once I access it, I can just come in here and just go to, if you look at here, I have my animation tree panel coming up here. Okay, so if I come up here, I can just click on add node and just add my animation. Okay, so if I click on animation, it's going to give me this. By default, it already gives me the output. So now I can just drag this up a bit like this. And you can select here, you see that you have different animations. I can do my up and down animation. Let me add another one, animation again. And this time around, I'm going to be adding my scale up and down. This time around is scale up and down. This one is up and down movement. This one is scale up and down. Now, how do I combine it? So I'm going to still go back to the node here, the add node. This animation tree nodes. So I'm going to get my blend 2. If I have up to 3 animations, I'll use blend 3. So I'll use blend 2. I'll blend this one into this place. I'll just plug this here and plug this one to this place. And then finally plug this one to here. So if you look at now, right now this is 0 and this is 1. So if you look at this is actually small. The reason being that our animation tree node is already full. Look at that. It's already full the last time we worked on it. So if you want to, remove that, you can just go back to the scale up and down and remove this and take it back to where it was before. Okay, still like that. Let's just use it that way for the meantime. And look at now, you have this. The whole two animations are looped, so that's the reason why they're doing that. So we're going to just leave that for the meantime like that. So because we have to do some kind of technical work for us to be able to rectify this particular thing that you are seeing here. That's what you're seeing here now. So that's how you can be able to combine those two animations. So if you look at here, you have this one. This one is up and down movement. It's going up, and down. And this one is for scaling. It just scales up and down. So that's what we can be able to do here. So I'm just going to leave it like this and just save it. So if you come to your level 1 now and add this particular instance, that's the animated 3D, you actually see that it's going to, let me just drag it to somewhere here. So this is what you'll be seeing. If I want to have multiple versions of this, what I will do is this. I'm going to just, let me try to scale this from here. So I have this here. I'm going to create a new node. This will be a node 3D again, and that node 3D. But this node 3D here, I'll be using it as a placeholder for all my animated bodies. Okay, so I'm just going to drag this and just put it under this one. So remember I told you about the tree. So if you look at here, this is a root node, and I have another one here. These are my animated body. So I can just call this animated cylinders So once I do that, I have this one under it now. So with this, I can be able to just duplicate this and have, different versions of it. So if you look at here now, I can have this. So you see all of them are under this place. I can snap them however I want. And you can be able to test your game later, and see what it looks like. And you can select this and move all of them all at once to however you want them to be. Okay, so now let's go into the more difficult and more rigorous part of this lesson. So I'm going to be using the asset lib here now. So in my asset lib, I'm going to get a few add-ons that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be getting my terrain 3D. So terrain 3D is actually an add-on that will enable you to create a terrain and be able to, work on it and, adjust it to however you like. Okay, so let me just remove that. Terrain should be okay. And it should give us the terrain. Let's wait for it. So just go down. You can select this particular one here. So this is one I'm working on. So if you click on this, you have the terrain. Okay, so it's used for making terrains like this, and you can put foliage. Now we don't have any textures we're using right now. We're going to be working on something very simple. So if I click on download, it's going to start downloading it. So it's not so heavy at all. Just download it. Now, when you download it, you need to make sure that it's in the add-ons folder. All right. If you don't have an add-ons folder already, make sure you create one. Okay. I think it usually comes with it. So, but if it doesn't come with it, any add-on you download that doesn't come with the add-ons folder, just make sure you put in the add-ons folder so you can have access to it properly and it will be segmented in the place it's meant to be. So if you look at here, you see I have add-ons now over here. All right. So if you look at here, let me just snap this. So you see the thing. So he's telling me now that once I snap this, look at this. This is what it's doing for me now. So it's telling me that everything is over here. See, it has one conflict, the icon, this icon that I have here. This icon for this one. So what I can do is this. I can say change folder, and I'm going to do something here. I'm going to create a new folder. Now, if you look at what is happening, just understand what is happening here. If I put this here, it's going to conflict with the add-ons the icons I already have here. So to do that, I'm just going to click on change, and I'm going to, under my res folder, I'm going to create a new add-ons folder. So add-ons. So I want this to be inside the add-ons folder. I'm going to move it out later. Okay. So if you click on select now, look at what's going to happen. Everybody comes down into this add-ons folder. Look at it here now. All of them will come into this add-ons folder, but I will need to move out some of it later, okay, from here. So if I come in here, I can just click on install. Now it's going to install, but it's not going to install properly. I'm going to move out some things for it to be able to work fine. So it's now installing it into my Godot engine software right now. So once I'm done, it's importing some assets that I need. And I can just allow you to import everything. So you're just getting me all the things I need for me to start working on my scene. This just require a bit of waiting. You just wait for it. So you click OK, and now I have this here. So if you open these add-ons down here, let's open it. Okay, it's coming up. I think it's delaying a bit. So meanwhile, we're going to also be installing, okay, still importing some things. Some things have been updated, okay. All right, so I'm going to open this up. So if you look at here, I have my add-ons. So I have my terrain here. So you have the bin here. Now, if you come up here and you don't see like you see, you have let me just snap this so you see what's happening. If you come up to your project and you go to project settings, by default, you should be seeing the terrain tree. Okay, it actually went in well. So you just select it here. Let me see. It's telling me that the link is not properly, aligned properly. So that's the reason why. So we need to make sure that this one here, see this terrain 3D here, this main one, we'll drag it out and put it under these main add-ons that we have here. So just move it. Yep, just move that one only. If you like to move other ones, but be careful when you're moving it. Okay, so I have my demo. See my demo here. I can also move my demo if I want to. Let me open the demo and see what it looks like. Let me see if it has some. Okay, it actually has some assets that we can be able to use. I have materials that we can use. Okay, this is good. And we have textures. So we can use these textures when we are working. So I'm going to just allow this to be here. Remember, I'm just moving only this one, the terrain 3D. That's what I'm actually moving. Okay. So this add-on remains where it is. So the reason is because I want everything to be under this. If I didn't do this, this icon will actually come out to this place, and that's not what I want. So I want all of them to be directly under here. So now I can just come in here, go to your project. If you check it now, let me see. I'm able to load scripts. Oh, let's do this again. Okay, terrain is actually turned on already. But it's not activated here. Let me be sure that everything is working fine. Okay, so this should be working. For some reason, it's not able to activate here, but we're going to just keep working with it and see if it's going to be able to activate it. So even if you don't open it there, just go into your empty here, and I'm going to create a new 3D scene. Another 3D scene. Let me come up here. I'll right click and add my terrain 3D. So let's see if it's going to work or if it's still having issues. So we're going to just wait for it. So if you keep having that problem, you might have to restart. But just make sure that your add-ons, when you're downloading it, it doesn't just scatter all over your entire REST file. Because sometimes it can become complicated. So, but it's very, very easy to download. So I also have a video on how to download it on my channel. So if you are confused about the long press I'm using, you can always go there and check it out. So I think this is taking a bit of time. I'm going to restart this if it continues this way. So it's still delaying. So I'm suspecting that this is because of the okay. So if you look at now, it's not working fine because of this. So I'm just going to exit this. Let's not save this one. Let's restart our add-on again. I'm going to restart the engine briefly. So I'm trying to restart Godot. If you have any question, you can just ask your question and I can attempt to that question right now. So I'm trying to refresh it to make sure everything is working fine. Okay, so it's open now. Okay, because moved later. So if you look at here, this add-on is no more important. I just went in, and if you click on it now, you see that it will just accept it, okay, because it has been positioned properly. So you can close it now. So just make sure you can I can remove this add-on now. Okay, I was trying to adjust some things to make sure it doesn't leak over everywhere. So if you look at here now, I have my icon, but it's under this place, so it's not going to be having any issue with this particular one that I have here. Then over here, I'm going to just go on to my new, and then I will create a new 3D scene. This 3D scene, I'm going to right click and add a terrain. So 3D, so just put it up. And it should work this time around. So this is taking a bit of time because of the speed of my laptop. So let's just wait for it for a while. So you should create a 3D scene for us where we can be able to actually begin to create different things that we want to be able to work with. And the terrain is actually massive. That's the reason why it's taking time, because it covers the entire place. That's what this is more like. So the terrain 3D is actually loading. We're just waiting for it. So we're going to be learning how to work with terrain 3D and be able to create an open world sort of terrain, that is procedural. We don't have to go model it inside Blender and bring it in here. We can just create it inside Godot Engine. This is one of the most important tools you need as a 3D artist if you're using Godot Engine. Okay, so he has created it for us. So let me just go back a bit and see what is happening. For some reason, my 3D scene is not appearing. By default, it should be appearing by now. Okay, let's just go on. It's actually there, but click the terrain to add a region. It's already visible. So, but let's first save this thing. So I'm going to come in here. If you click on data, all right, so I'm going to create a new place, call it my terrain, a new folder, select it. So you save the data directory, and then I'm going to have my materials. So I'm going to say save materials. I'm still going to save it inside that same terrain. And also I'm going to save this one, the assets. I'm going to save it inside there. So suspecting there is a problem with this version of Godot, it's not working properly here in 4.6. So it's actually there, but it's not visible for some reason. So I think this particular version is for 4.4, but I'm doing it in 4.6. I think that might be the reason why it's doing that. So I'm just going to, I think we're going to just leave off this particular tool for now. But if you want more videos on this particular add-on, just make sure you can watch the video. I think I used the 4.3 in my tutorial on my channel. So it's not compatible here. There's a problem over here. It's seeing the what that's the terrain node, the terrain, but it's not able to render it for some reason that I do not know. So, and it's visible. Okay, so I'm going to just close this one out. And let's go get another node that we're going to be using. This time we're going to be using the 3D node. So I'm going to go into my asset lib. So the third person templates, that's what we're going to be using this time around. The third person. That should be third person. So we'll have third person here. Let me go down. This is not the one I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. Third person controller. So I'm going to be using this. It comes with a character that we can be able to work with. So if you click here, you can be able to download it. So just like how you use Unreal Engine, you have your already made character that you can be able to use. So you can just download. You also have in Godot Engine already made characters you can be able to use inside Godot Engine, and you can be able to work with it. So you don't have to literally have to create a character yourself before you start testing out your game or your entire scene. So this is something you can be able to easily use. So once I do this, you see here now, the same thing that I had, that's the same problem. You see, I have my add-on. Yep. He's going to put it here, but you see, he's going to put these ones outside. So I'm trying to clean up my entire scene, but I'm just going to leave this for the meantime. Later, I'm going to clean it up. So if I come in here, let me see what's conflicting. Let's click and see what's conflicting. Come down. Projects. Godot. Okay, no, this is not going to be a problem. Okay, so let's install. So it's getting different things for us right now we can be able to use. And we need to know a bit of GD scripts to understand what is happening here, but we're not going to be coding it. We're going to be using it. Just wait for it for a bit. And we're coming to do more. Okay, so it has updated. Okay, so if you look at here, I have this, my playground and the readme. I can just drag them inside back into my add-ons. I don't want them to be outside. So just to clean up my entire scene. So I want to make sure that my file system is very neat. That's what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to open up here. If you look at here, you have your third person templates. You have your character that you can be able to work with. Now, if you come down here, if you don't see this here, you can still be able to use it. I'm going to come to it very soon. So if you come up here, let's go into our level 3D. So I'm going to just be in a 3D level. So remember, we already have a character we're using here. We can replace this character with something like a more human character. Okay, so if you do something like this is a third person template. I think I have to check it from here. Let's open this demo and see what is inside it. So if you look at here, we'll have a demo scene that we can be able to use. I'm looking for my third person controller character. This is a manicure. Okay, so we'll have this here. Okay, so if I right click, I can put my third. Let me see if we have it. Okay, it doesn't activate from this side. So I'm looking for my third person controller template. So let me just type template here and see if I can be able to see from here. And player template. Okay, I've seen it here now. It's difficult to actually find. So if you just type inside this place, player template, you can be able to see the player templates. Now you have to open as inherited, so you have access to it. So this is the only way you can be able to use it. You just get it from here, type the template, and you just have access to it. See, this is what it's going to look like. It comes with everything that you need. Okay, so you don't have to even do anything at all. So once I do that, I would like to open up this in the editor. So this is the main file that I'll be using. So now I'm going to be using this. I'll right click and I will save it as a separate file now. So if you go to my scenes, I'm going to call this my 3D temp underscore player. That's what I'll be using right now. So save it. So once I have this now, I can be able to just come in here and put up some few things. So if you look at this in the code, if you look at here in the code for this particular player, if you click here, you see that you have some few things. So we'll have things like walk, run, jump, big attack, roll, all those things. We can be able to actually use them. Okay, we'll have a run, a walk. So if you go down, let me just go down more. See attack here. So these are the ones we're going to be using. I'm going to be using attack. Let me go down. Left, forward, sprints. Okay, these are the ones I'm going to be using. Let me just note them. So I have my forward, my backward, my left, my sprints, and my attack. Let's use those ones first. So I'm going to create an input map for it. So I'm going to go to my project, go to my project settings. So if you're using Godot for the first time, you want to be able to create your own buttons that you'll be using to control your character. You can always go to input map. So the name first will have the forward. So I'm going to click on forward. We'll have the backward. Okay, we'll have the sprint. We'll have the left. We'll have the right. And we'll have the attack. I think there are other ones, but we're going to be working with this 6 of this for now. So for my forward, I'm just going to select my up arrow on my keyboard, click OK. For my back, I'm clicking the plus sign, select the back arrow. There's a down arrow on my keyboard. So this is basically how you can be able to put your inputs as your control, your keyboard controls or your mouse controls inside Godot for any controls of a character you want to use. So I have the sprints. I'm going to be using, what will I be using for sprint now? I think I'll be using right click for my sprint. Okay, and another one I missed is the jump. So I have my jump. So I'm going to also add jump there. Okay. So my left would be my left arrow on my keyboard. My right, click on the plus sign. If you want to delete any one, you can always click on this delete to delete it if you don't want it any longer. Then for my attack, I'm going to be using my left click for my attack. And my jump, I'm going to be using my space bar on my keyboard for my jump. Okay, so I have this now, so I can close this and just save. So right now I can go to my level 1 and I'm going to just use this. So I want to use the same level 1, but I want to make it level 2 and then remove the player that I used before. That's what I want to do now. So to do that, I want to reuse a particular scene that I've already used before. I will right click on it. I will use save as and go to my scenes and go to my level 2. So I'm making this level 2 right now. So in my level 2, I can just go to my player here now and just delete this player, this original player that we have worked on, the first one that we used. So I'll delete it. Now I want to bring in my new player, my 3D player. So I'll right click on this one and put my, sorry, not right click, instantiate child. So I'm going to do 3D player. And you see that the guy comes in. I can just drag him up a bit like this. If you want to have much control over it, you can just add a new node 3D to this place and call it player. Let me call it player. And make this one to be a child of it. This one now and just drag it up. So you have control over it. And you can save this. Now this comes with everything, both the camera and everything you need for this particular thing. So now let's go on to play this and see what it looks like. Okay, I think oh, we didn't save this, so I'm going to have to delete this one. Yep, this one we saved. So let's go back again and play. Okay, so your camera can be able to look around it. So this is what it can be able to do. And you can move forward and backwards, left and right. Few errors, I can feel error somewhere. Maybe I have to go and rectify that. But this is just what the whole character looks like. So let's go and rectify. See. Okay, so let me just go into that and see what is happening there. I think everything is fixing well. So, but for some reason, okay. Okay, I think I understand the reason why it's in that. So these are technical problems you could have. So I'm going to delete it completely. Go back to this place. Let me test out a few things to be sure everything is working fine. So if you play here, oh, I think I understand what is happening now. So I think by the next time I'll be using this thing, I don't think these add-ons have been optimized for 4.6 for some reasons. So you notice we tried 4. The terrain 3D, it wasn't working fine. So probably there are some errors here because if you look at now, it's already the skeleton. That's the rig that is actually working. So the main thing is not actually working. Look at it there. So this, I think more probably when I'm doing this next time, I will just do it basically for 4.3 or 4.4. Okay, so 4.6 doesn't work well with these add-ons. So probably they have not been updated. So I just pray they will get updated. So far we have been able to work with different things inside Godot engine here, and we have learned how to be able to create a particular thing. I think we have been almost here for an hour or 2 hours now. So I'm going to stop here for today. If you have any question on this particular beginner tutorial, so what I was able to achieve in this particular class is that we're able to cover the interface of Godot, understanding what Godot is really about and what can it be, the interface, and then creating a basic player and a node, using the node systems, understanding the node system and how you can be able to, add a script simply into your scene. So that's all we have in this particular one. So I wanted to use these things here, but I've just seen that these add-ons are not compatible with 4.6. So I'm going to be very compatible with 4.6. So thank you very much for all those that have been hopping in and going out and those that stayed for long. Thank you for being here. And I think my thing has gone off. Let me share the screen once more before I go off completely. So see you in the next live or the next we have. All right. Thank you very much and have a beautiful and amazing day ahead.